Angel Reese has been a blessing to girls basketball.
The most impressive rookie so far has been Angel Reese.
Angel Reese just opened a can of worms, and now she's swimming in them. Her new podcast, Unapologetically Angel, turned into a Clark bashing fest, and fans are not having it. You won't believe what happened when she invited Sheryl Swoopes on as a guest. Talk about adding fuel to the fire. Angel Reese didn't just invite any guest. She brought in Sheryl Swoopes, a WNBA icon with a history of throwing shade at Caitlin Clark. Was this a strategic move or a major misstep?
Look at all the brand deals that she has. The fame, the celebrity, and the newfound dollar.
Let's break it down. Sheryl Swoopes isn't just any basketball player, she's a legend, a 3-time WNBA MVP and an Olympic gold medalist. But lately, she's been making headlines for a different reason: her not so nice comments about Caitlin Clark. And that's exactly why Angel's choice is raising eyebrows. You know what's wild? Swoopes has been pretty vocal about Clark. She said things that have got Clark's fans all riled up. So when Angel announced Swoopes as her podcast guest, it was like she was waving a red flag in front of a bull. People were wondering, is Angel trying to stir up drama? Timing of this podcast couldn't have been more perfect, or more explosive, depending on how you look at it. It's right when the tension between Clark and Swoopes is at its peak. Coincidence? I don't think so.
I love that she's unapologetic. I love that she's authentic.
I feel like she's gonna be a star.
Angel knew exactly what she was doing. But here's the thing, Angel might have thought she was making a power move. You know, bringing in someone who's not afraid to speak their mind about Clark. But sometimes, when you play with fire, you get burned. And boy, did this fire spread fast. Think about it. Angel's already got a bit of a rivalry going with Clark. Now she brings in Swoopes, who's been critical of Clark. It's like she's forming an anti-Clark alliance. But did she consider how Clark's massive fan base would react? That's the million-dollar question. You've got to wonder what Angel was thinking. Was she trying to get more eyes on her podcast? Because if that was the goal, mission accomplished.
Angel Reese has been a blessing to girls basketball.
The most impressive rookie so far has been Angel Reese.
Not only being the best on the floor, but also being unapologetically herself.
I got the keys to the kingdom, ain't nobody stopping me now.
But at what cost? This move didn't just stir the pot, it turned the whole kitchen upside down. And let's talk about Swoopes for a second. She's got her own baggage. There have been controversies about her coaching career, her comments about other players. So bringing her in wasn't just about Clark, it was opening up a whole can of worms. Little did Angel know she was about to unleash a tsunami of fan reactions. Imagine asking for innocent questions and instead getting hit with a barrage of brutal takedowns. How did a simple podcast prep turn into a PR nightmare? Angel Reese thought she was making a smart move. You know, she decided to reach out to fans for questions for her upcoming podcast with Sheryl Swoopes. Seems harmless, right? Well, let me tell you, it was anything but. You'd think fans would come up with some softball questions, maybe ask about Swoopes' favorite game or her best career moment. But nope, these fans came ready for war. They weren't just defending Caitlin Clark, they were on a mission to roast Swoopes. Some of the questions were so spicy they could melt your phone screen. Get this. One fan asked, "How many times a day do you think about Caitlin Clark?" Ouch. That's not just a question, that's a verbal smackdown. Another fan went for the jugular, asking, what motivates you to come up with different reasons to find faults in Caitlin Clark's game? Talk about not pulling any punches. But wait, it gets even wilder. These fans weren't just content with defending Clark. They went full-on offensive, digging up Swoopes' past like they were auditioning for a role as investigative journalists. They brought up old coaching scandals, threw around accusations of jealousy. It was a no-holds-barred attack. One fan didn't mince words, asking, yeah, did you only abuse the white players, or were you equal opportunity? That's not just crossing a line, that's pole vaulting over it. Another fan hit hard with, how does it feel to have gotten fired for abusing your players? These weren't questions, they were missiles aimed straight at Swoopes' reputation. It's like these fans formed a protective circle around Caitlin Clark, and anyone who dared to criticize her was in for a world of hurt. They weren't just supporting their favorite player, they were ready to go to battle for her. You've got to wonder what was going through Angel's mind as she watched this unfold. Did she expect this level of intensity? Was she sitting there, watching her phone blow up, thinking, what have I gotten myself into? This wasn't just fans being mean or trolling for the sake of it. No, this was a clear message, loud and clear. If you mess with Caitlin Clark, you're not just dealing with her. You're taking on an entire army of supporters who are ready to defend her at all costs. It's crazy to think how quickly things spiraled out of control. One minute, Angel's planning a podcast, thinking she's got a great guest lined up. The next minute, she's in the middle of a fan frenzy that's more heated than a playoff game in triple overtime. You think Angel saw this coming? Because what happened next turned her podcast into something she never intended. The backlash she faced might change women's basketball forever. Angel Reese's plan to stir up some drama with her podcast quickly spiraled out of control. Before you could say triple-double, her episode with Sheryl Swoopes got slapped with a label that's gonna stick: the Caitlin Clark Haters Special. Talk about a PR nightmare. Imagine trying to promote your show and ending up with a reputation as the go-to spot for trash talk. That's not exactly the kind of publicity most players are after. Angel probably thought she was making a bold move, but instead she might have just painted a target on her own back. And get this, it's not just about Angel anymore. This whole mess is creating a divide in the WNBA fan base that's deeper than the Grand Canyon. We're talking Team Clark versus Team everyone else. Fans aren't just cheering for their favorites now, they're ready to go to war for them on social media. You know what's wild? This isn't your grandma's WNBA anymore. We're seeing a new generation of stars like Reese and Clark who are shaking things up big time. They're not just playing ball, they're stirring up rivalries that are getting fans more fired up than ever before. But here's the million-dollar question. How's all this drama gonna affect Angel's career? She wanted to make some waves, but did she end up drowning herself instead? It's like she tried to light a spark and ended up with a forest fire. Think about it. Every time Angel steps on the court now, is she gonna be known as the player who tried to take down Caitlin Clark? That's not exactly the kind of reputation you want following you around, especially when you're trying to make your mark in the league. And let's talk about sponsorships and endorsements. You think brands are gonna be lining up to work with someone who's got a rep for stirring up controversy? It's like Angel might have scored on her own hoop when it comes to her public image. But here's where it gets really interesting. This whole situation is showing us how the WNBA is evolving. It's not just about the game anymore. It's about personalities, rivalries, and fan loyalty. We're seeing the birth of a new era in women's basketball, where players are becoming bigger than the sport itself. You've got to wonder if this is what Angel had in mind when she started her podcast. Did she realize she was about to become the poster child for the changing face of women's basketball? Because that's exactly what's happening. This isn't just about one podcast gone wrong or one player making a misstep. It's about how the entire landscape of women's basketball is shifting. We're seeing the rise of superstars who can make headlines just by opening their mouths, not just by what they do on the court. And the fans, they're not just spectators anymore. They're active participants in this drama, ready to defend their favorites and take down anyone who dares to criticize them. It's like we're watching the birth of a whole new level of fan engagement in the WNBA.